Go ahead.
Hey, fantasy football, fantasy frenzy podcast time with me and my buddy Jimmie Maverick over there. What's up?
Hey, man, I had a good week. I went 4-2. Most importantly, on my tournament leagues, the ones that end after week 11 to make the playoffs, I won all 3 games. So I was that really, really helped me out for positioning for a playoff spot. So I'm very psyched about that. It was a good week for me.
God, you know, I've been playing fantasy football for years now, and I never notice when the playoffs start until they start. And it's like 2 or 3 weeks from now, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, most fantasy leagues are going to go through week 13 or 14.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I thought. Okay.
So at a minimum, there's still 4 or 5 more games to be played. But with the tournament leagues, their playoff is week 12 and 13 because then they have like a big money the big money tournament thing starts on week 14 and goes through week 16. So you're in a 12-team league. So you play each team in that league once, and then it's the playoffs. So right now I've got 2 of my teams are at 6-3, and they're third place. So, top 4 go to the playoffs. So that's perfect for me. And So I'm very happy that I won all those teams. And the one team that I thought was totally out of the playoffs won also. So I still have like an outside shot, but it's going to take some help for me to actually make the playoffs in that team because it's 4-5 and it's just 2 games to go. I can't do much more than go 6-5 to try to make a playoff spot.
Yeah, I got you.
Probably not going to happen.
Well, I got 2-0 last week, but the problem is one of my teams, there's 3 divisions, and I'm first place in my division with a 5-4 record. But the other 2 divisions have 6-3s and 8-2s. So I could still be on the outside looking in. But this team, I just noticed, it's been a patchwork team all year because of all the injuries I've had to deal with. So they show the total points that you've scored over the year. I haven't even gotten 1,000 points yet. I'm the one guy in my league, the one guy who hasn't even managed 1,000 points yet. I got like 930. So I'm looking at this team, and I don't know how I'm winning at all because, listen to this. I've got Stafford as my quarterback. I got David Johnson, Devontae Freeman, and Phillip Lindsay splitting time at running back, Thielen at receiver, Robbie Anderson at receiver, Danny Amendola at receiver, Everett at tight end, Zerline is my kicker because my Jake Elliott's on a bye. This team is really not good. And every time I go to the waiver wire, there's not very many good alternatives at this point because I've already kind of done what I can.
Right. Yeah. Chances are you have just had great matchups and you've won games that perhaps you shouldn't have. And
most of them.
That's all right. Like if sometimes you have those teams, right? Those teams where they're not that good, but whenever anybody plays you, they just seem to do just terrible against you and you end up winning. And
yeah, but that's not sustainable.
Yeah,
once the playoffs start,
but you can carry that, and all you want is a shot in the playoffs, man. That's all you need is a shot. And if people tend to have their worst week when they're playing your team, that should continue into the playoffs. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see how you do.
All right, let me ask you a question real quick. My other team, which is really good, by the way, thanks to Russell Wilson mostly.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been kind of picking through the waiver wire for the Kenny Galladays and the DK Metcalfs of the world, and they've been doing great for me. So I got Kenyon Drake this week, and I got him in my flex. And they're only projecting him to score 5 points against Tampa Bay. I bet he does a lot better. And I need to know, is Alvin Kamara going to come back anytime soon? Because he's been a bust for me this year.
Right. Well, I think there's a good chance that Kamara is going to play this week. And
how good is he going to be, though?
Yeah, and as far as Drake goes, Drake's a bit of a gamble this week because we don't know what David Johnson's status is. And even if David Johnson plays, I'm betting they're going to keep him on some sort of a snap count.
Yep.
So I think there's going to be opportunity there for Drake, especially in the passing game. And that's what you want. If you got a back there that's going to catch passes, they're going to be relevant regardless of how the game goes this weekend.
Well, right. It's a PPR league, and Kenyon Drake, obviously, they love throwing him out of the backfield. He might end up being great at flex.
Yeah, he could be. Now, obviously, if David Johnson does play, that throws a wrench in that. I would, but as a flex play, I think he's probably not a bad flex play this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go for it. Well, so when we're looking at some of the injuries, because maybe you were sitting on a Cam Newton or a Deshaun Jackson or somebody like that in hopes that they were going to be coming back soon, because both those guys were projected to be coming back about right now. Now they're done for the year.
Yeah.
So now you got to punt. But if you've been going with Minshew mania, it's official. He's going to the bench. Nick Foles is finally going to play.
Right.
I wonder if that'd be worth a roll of the dice on him if your quarterback position's underperforming.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, obviously he doesn't play this week. Jacksonville's off this week. So we're talking for week 11.
Right.
But this would be a great time to pick up Nick Foles, and you could probably drop Gardner Minshew as well off your team. But next week is when there's going to be a demand for Nick Foles. So, if you can get him this week, if you can hold him this week, I'd say go for it.
I wonder what kind of numbers he's going to put up. I mean, the Jacksonville receiving corps, Chark and a few of those guys, they're not bad. They're not bad.
Yeah, they've been really good with Minshew, and hopefully they will continue to perform. I'm not particularly worried about it. I mean, I would start all the Jacksonville receivers with Nick Foles back, because I think Nick Foles is probably an upgrade from Minshew. And Minshew is pretty good. Minshew did great in his backup role. So
yeah, but he was starting to become the backup that we all knew he was week one. He was finally starting to take that shape. You know what I mean?
Well, it was, anytime those games happen in London, man, I just say you don't know what's going to happen. And those teams, those guys, they can be seriously jet lagged and just not able to perform at the level that they normally can. I mean, that game start was like a 7 a.m. start for him or something.
Yes.
I mean, your body's not attuned to that, and you just arrive only a few days before. It's hard to get acclimated to that. I'm terrible at jet lag, so whenever it comes to those London games, I'm always like, man, throw whatever you think is going to happen out the window, because it's probably going to be the opposite. So.
Yeah, well, you see, you're sounding like Aaron Rodgers right now, because he was making an excuse after the Packers got drilled by the Chargers, and he was saying, well, we made the flight. A lot of guys weren't rested enough. The weather changed. I'm like, man, that just sounds like a bunch of excuses to me, Rodgers. That's not a good look for him,
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the whole Rodgers-Green Bay situation, man. I mean, to lose as bad like they did to the Chargers of all teams, it makes it, everyone was saying, Rodgers is back. Rodgers is going to be, the king quarterback again. And I don't know, man. I'm just thinking, I don't think he's that kind of a player anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, on the other side of that coin, and I think you're right, by the way, but on the other side of that coin, you look at the Chargers record right now, and you look at the AFC. Baltimore's obvious. New England's obvious. Houston's probably obvious at this point. I think Kansas City is too. Then you look at, all right, we get two more teams in there. At this point, the Chargers, they're used to making late season runs. It wouldn't surprise me if they made a quick run here at the end and made the playoffs. And then suddenly your Melvin Gordons, your Keenan Allens, your Hunter Henrys are going to be looking real good as fantasy options.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And when we get to this point in the season, I always like to have players on teams that are on the cusp of the playoffs.
Yeah,
guys that are really striving, because that means they're going to try a little bit harder than those league leading teams that are going to slack off towards the end of the season. So when you talk about like maybe a team like Oakland or Jacksonville, or these teams that are like second or third in their division,
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia really. I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure, and those guys are going to try harder, and that's what I like for my fantasy team. So hopefully you've got a lot of those players, and even Kansas City, just because Mahomes has been out, man. What are they? They're 4-3 or 5-3 or something.
Yes, 5-3.
Yeah, they're 5-3. So they're not like dominating like they were last year. So I don't see any slacking off happening on that sort of a team. But we'll have to wait and see. Like, are the 49ers going to continue to be valuable into week 12, 13, 14? If they continue to just win and be the highest ranked team in the NFL. So
they got a tough run in that division though, because Seattle. They're good. The Rams, I wouldn't be writing the Rams off yet, and it's not like the Cardinals are a pushover. And I think they've still got the whole second half of their season is still a game each with each of their division teams already. So it's not like it's going to be easy for them if they get through to let's say they finish 14-2, 15-1. Which I wouldn't say is out of the question at this point. You better start thinking they're real.
Oh, yeah. I mean, So it'll be real interesting to see what happens. But I got to tell all the listeners out there, man, if you haven't done so already, go onto your waiver wire and just see who was dropped onto the waiver wire this week because I found some amazing pickups. I was able to pick up Will Lutz to be my kicker.
Nice.
Someone had to drop him just because they had other needs that they needed to fill on this huge Bymageddon week where there's 6 teams on bye. I was also able to get Indianapolis, the defense, off of waivers. They're playing Miami this weekend. So that's a great matchup. And the always explosive or blowing up Fitzpatrick, man. I mean, that guy, he can either be fantastic or he can be god-awful and just be a godsend to anybody who's playing a defense against him.
Well, I just had to send down a couple of guys that are known for good fantasy numbers in the past. They haven't been that great this year. For example, Brandon Cooks, I just let the dude go. I needed to make a room, you know. Will Fuller, there's another guy that I had to let go. And I don't know when his hamstring's going to be right now. At this point, I'm wondering if Adam Thielen's ever going to be right again. And I'm counting on that guy.
Yeah,
you know?
it's tough. I would not drop him yet, but yeah, you're right. I mean, Fuller definitely should be dropped. And Cooks, I've got him on a couple of my teams, and he's sitting on the bench, and he's still in concussion protocol. So that's not
2 weeks
good.
later. 2 weeks later, that's
so
not a good sign.
That's not a good sign. Although I do think that his injury is good news for the rest of the receivers on that team. So I think Woods will do better. I think Everett will do good.
And Kupp's already been doing good.
So again, it kind of funnels down to there's less receivers available, so that means more volume to all the remaining ones. So and Kupp will continue to be fantastic, right?
Yeah, he's been good. He's been good. Although he's an injury waiting to happen every time he goes out on field. I swear. Him and Cole Beasley both have that look. All right. So with the buys going on, there's extra interest to perform this week because some of your opponents are probably not even going to be close to at full strength. So let's talk real quick. Let's do our start and sit for the week. Okay. So let's start with quarterback. Who do you like to start?
Quarterbacks. All right. So I got to say you got to keep on riding the hot hand. Jameis Winston, who has just been, I see Jameis Winston as kind of like the next Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think that's what his career is going to be after this year. A guy that can get very streaky and very, very hot, but just makes stupid decisions and blows up his own team with his bad decision making. Anyway, he's playing Arizona this week. That's a great matchup. He's at home. And man, I got to tell you, Evans and Godwin have been on fire. And so definitely go with Jameis Winston. He is going to produce this week.
Boy, you could get a lot of points off of him if you had got 6 points for each interception. He'd be better than Russell Wilson,
Yeah, I mean, although, I would not start the Arizona defense against Jameis Winston because you're taking too much of a chance there, and it's just not a good defense anyway.
Right.
So I wouldn't do it in this case. But the other one I really like, man, Jimmy Garoppolo versus Seattle. Seattle's defense is not very good.
They're not the Seattle defense we're used to. Yeah.
No. I mean, Seattle's winning by outscoring their opponents. So that's all Russell Wilson, man. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I love that Emmanuel Sanders is there. I think that gives the 49ers a true wide receiver one on that team. And I think it's probably going to be one of the highest-scoring games of the week. So I am all in on Jimmy Garoppolo as well. I think he's
incidentally, I had Russell Wilson start in one of my leagues where he got me 74 points. And I have Garoppolo on the bench who got 57. And there was a moment before the Seattle game started where I saw what Garoppolo put up, and I said, I should have tried to start him. And then when Russell Wilson did what he did, well, regardless, when the Seattle's got their bye, I got Garoppolo to bring up, which would be great, so.
Yeah, and I got to say, of those two, man, go with Russell Wilson again. Yeah, Russell's doing great. So I would but there's a lot of people out there who have a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of good quarterbacks on bye this week. So Jimmy Garoppolo, you might be able to get him off a waiver, so go check.
Wow. Okay. Then who are you sitting?
One that I don't like, and this is one that is on your little House of Cards team, Matthew Stafford, man.
Yeah.
He has been fabulous, but now he's going to Chicago, playing in Chicago. Chicago's pass defense is for real. They are very, very good. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to try to make that team run to win, and they just don't have any good running backs on that team that can do that. So I think Stafford is going to get shut down, and I think it's going to be bad for Galladay and Marvin Jones too. So
that's too bad because Rivers is my option though if I don't start Stafford.
Rivers isn't a bad matchup, man. I mean, Oakland is vulnerable against the pass. I would probably consider putting in Rivers this week ahead of.
All right. Who else are you sitting at quarterback?
Yeah. Kirk Cousins, man. So Cousins has been on a roll, but now it's a road game at Dallas. Thielen is out. Dallas is the fifth toughest against quarterbacks. So I do not see a good day for Kirk Cousins at all. I think they're going to rely heavily on Dalvin Cook. I wouldn't start Kirk Cousins if you can.
Okay.
If you have an alternative. So
all right. Speaking of running backs, you were talking about Dalvin Cook. So who are you starting and sitting there?
Okay. So for my start, I really like Marlon Mack. Again, this is Indianapolis. They're playing Miami. The Miami defense is not good at all. Marlon Mack has kind of been up and down this year. He's been overall very effective for ground yardage, but he hasn't had any real big blow-up games. But I think this week definitely he has a potential to have that. So I definitely like Marlon Mack for week 10. So
all right.
And I also see a big bounce back week for the Green Bay running backs, man. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams playing at California. Carolina is not good against the run. They're very good against the pass. So I see that it's going to be the game plan is going to be dominate on the ground. And so I think both Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams are going to have a good week this week.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. All right, so who are you sitting?
Sits Chris Carson, man. So this is going to the San Francisco, the San Francisco Seattle game, which should be a high scoring game. But Chris Carson, he's had a problem with holding on to the ball, man. He's been fumbling a lot. And San Francisco is one of the toughest teams against the run. So yeah, I think it's going to be bombs all over that field.
Maybe the one defense in the league that was actually able to contain Christian McCaffrey this year too. That'll tell you a lot about San Francisco's D.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. That was the week that he only got like 7 points or something.
Yep.
So, it's not looking good for Chris Carson this week. And then Devonta Freeman as well. Freeman has just been straight up a full-on bust this year, man. And I'm not surprised. I was not into his coming back. I don't think he's the same player he was like 3 or 4 seasons ago.
You warned me when I drafted him before the season even started, but he was the best option I had. He's had a couple of weeks where he was an okay RB2, but never an RB1.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And the Atlanta's just not a good team, and they're constantly throwing the ball to keep up. So he just kind of gets abandoned in the game plan. And so they're playing against the Saints in New Orleans. Man, New Orleans is good against the run.
Yep.
This is not going to be a good day for Devonta Freeman.
All right. Receivers, talk to me.
All right. So for receivers, my first one is the best receiver on a bad team, and that would be Jamison Crowder of the New York Jets. They're playing the Giants, and frankly, he's like the only guy in the Jets offense that I would trust right now. So,
well, you know what though, man, with the Giants pass offense or defense, it wouldn't surprise me if Robbie Anderson actually had an okay day though. You're right. The Giants pass defense is awful.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But I mean, Sam Darnold is rattled, man. I don't know what happened in that New England game, but something's off. Like I said, I don't trust that offense at all, except for Jamison Crowder, just because of the volume he's getting, man. He's getting so many passes. I think Crowder's going to be very effective. Robbie Anderson, maybe as a desperation flex play if you need it.
That's all I got is desperation with that team. So I got to do it,
man. I also like Keenan Allen against Oakland, man. The Oakland's pass defense also not very good. And Keenan Allen, he's been very disappointing, especially since Hunter Henry came back. He's kind of like been forgotten in this offense. But I see that Oakland has given up the second most points to wide receivers this season. So I think Keenan Allen is a good choice, man. I would definitely start him.
About time. He's been MIA all year.
Yeah.
It's true. All right. What about tight ends? Oh, no, we got your sits on your receivers.
Sits for wide receivers. Yeah. So Odell Beckham, man, he is just on this string of extremely tough matchups, and he's been extremely ineffective. And, Mayfield has been terrible.
Yeah, but his shoes are sure
this week, man.
Odell's shoes are sure cool, though, aren't they?
What's that?
I said Odell's shoes sure are cool. At least he's got that going for him, right?
Yeah, if only they made him a better player, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's not going to turn around for Odell this week, man. I mean, Buffalo is for real. It is a home game, but I'm still not expecting much out of him. Expect another one of those 5 catches, 60-yard performances. I think that's about the best he's going to do.
All right.
I also saying you should steer clear of Juju Smith-Schuster, man.
Yeah.
He has been such a bust this year.
Well, in his defense, he's not really knowing who's throwing him the ball from week to week, you know.
That's true. And Mason Rudolph just basically has gone to be completely avoiding pressing the ball down the field. He just does those short little dump offs and screens and stuff. And that is not where Juju's going to make any money there. So they're playing the Rams also. So you got Jalen Ramsey is going to be shadowing him. It's going to be a bad day. It's going to be a bad day for Juju. I would put someone else in his place for sure.
All right. And then how about tight ends? What do you got for tight ends?
Tight ends, we talked about this a little bit, but Gerald Everett, the Los Angeles Rams, they're at Pittsburgh. I think he's actually probably going to be the best receiving option because the Steelers' defense is very good against receivers. So I think coming across the middle of the field in the slot, I think Gerald Everett's going to have a big day. And so also no Brandon Cooks. That should all help his performance. So I would definitely go with Gerald Everett.
You know, when I picked up Everett the week before last, because I had a tight end that got hurt. That's my third tight end on this team that's gotten hurt this year. And they all did great. I had Disley for a while. I had Njoku for a while. I'm like kiss of death for them. But I noticed that Gerald Everett was only owned in 30% of leagues on this one site. I was like, that's it? So he might be sitting there if you need somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you gotta check your waiver wire today, man.
Yeah.
There's little prizes and things there that you can take advantage of. My other start is going to be Hunter Henry, who's playing against Oakland. You know, again, this is the Chargers. So I think he's been getting a great amount of targets, and so I think he's gonna be very effective this week. So.
All right. So if you're lucky enough to actually have an option at tight end on your bench, then who you're going to sit this week?
That's true, man. I mean, it is a tough week with these 6 teams on bye. There's not a lot of options, so you might be stuck in having to start one of these guys like I am. My sits for tight ends, Mark Andrews, who has not done much lately, man. He started out the season red hot. He was fantastic.
Yep.
He's been like under 50 yards for the past 5 games in a row. And so I don't know what's going on with there, but Cincinnati actually has a very good defense against tight ends. So it's a tough matchup anyway. And I'm thinking the disappointment will continue this week. So if you can sit Mark Andrews, I would sit him.
Yeah, fantasy-wise, Andrews hasn't been producing, but as far as just actually on the field, he gets some tough yards. He's a tough dude. I like watching him play.
I like that whole offense.
Yeah,
Man. I've really enjoyed watching the Ravens this season. They are fantastic, and I'm so happy. I wish I had more shares of Lamar Jackson. That's all I wish.
Man. If I'm sitting there on a Sunday watching the Red Zone, Lamar Jackson may be my favorite player to watch play right now. He's great. You know. Yeah.
So, and my other sit is Chris Herndon, man, who a lot of people have been waiting for this guy to come back. I mean, he was suspended for the first 4 games, and then he has this hamstring injury, and now this is like going to be his first game back. They're playing the Giants, so it's a good matchup. But, man, I need a show-me game before I'm going to trust this. I can just see him going out there, like Adam Thielen, man, just re-injuring the hamstring. It's so easy to do.
Yep.
So I would definitely sit Chris Herndon this week. Make him show you that he's going to be there. He's going to do something for that offense before you put him into your lineup. Because there's a big possibility that it could just be a goose egg from him this week.
Yeah, man. There's two injuries when you see the little red letter next to your player during a given week. The Q, where you go and you check their status. There's 2 injuries you don't want to see. Besides the season-ending ones, you don't want to see hamstring questionable. You don't want to see like a Liz Frank questionable because they never come back from that. They're never right again.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. So anyway, but hopefully, he will be back and be an effective player for heading into the playoffs. But for this week, I would say no. So,
yeah. All right, cool. Good list, man. Like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, everybody out there, good luck with week 10. Get those wins. You got to get yourself into that playoff position and go. I would love it if all my teams made it into the playoffs this year. That's like kind of like my goal. I've never had that happen. I always have like one team that just sucks and just can't make it. And so even my long shot, I'm still gunning for it. And one of the nice things about this week, here's something that I found, man, just bad planning on the part of my opponent. There's a player who drafted Deshaun Watson and Tom Brady onto their team But both are on bye this week.
Yeah, I've done that a few times.
He has no quarterback.
Yeah, if you got a fantasy rookie, because way back in 2004, I think the first time I played, I did that a bunch before I realized, oh, that's why they list the bye week during the draft. I get it now. Yeah, so that's probably what happened. Yeah.
But I'm actually favored in every single matchup this week. That's also the first time this year that has happened, and it's because there's so many teams that I'm playing that it just have key players on bye, most notably Deshaun Watson. So that's one of the ways that the bye weeks can go your way, is when that sort of stuff happens and you get to avoid having to play that player.
Yeah, no, I got you. I'm only in 2 leagues this year. It's the least I've been in forever. I'm usually in 4 or 5. Yeah. But things got organized kind of late this year. But in one league, my league here at work, as a matter of fact, I am the 3-time defending champion, going for the 4-peat this year.
Really?
Team is pretty, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I'm looking good this year too. So I'm keeping a keen eye on that team, man. And it's all because of Russell Wilson. I owe that man,
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. So cool. Well, good luck everybody in week 10. By the way, if you haven't done so already, if you want to watch the video of this podcast, go to my YouTube page. Just look for Jimmie Maverick. That's Jimmie. Just do that search on YouTube. You'll find my page and you can watch us here. Like I said, we're just so good looking. We'll make your day. So
yeah. And you can always find it on 94rock.com on the morning show page, usually on Thursdays. So that'll be right before the Thursday kickoff. Keep an eye out for that. You can get it there too, the audio. So you're good to go.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much, Swami, and
thank you
this weekend. And hopefully we'll come back next week with great news that everybody's in great position for the playoffs. So
there you go, man.
All right. So have a good one, and good luck this weekend.